Hey guys, welcome to day one of probability. So we're just going to do some prerequisite skills to get going. You'll probably find this lesson very much review. So we're going to be looking at fractions, decimals, and percents. So the word percent means per hundred. So example one, we're just going to express each as 100. So all we're doing in this situation is we're dividing by the lower number. Okay, so we're taking 3 divided by 100, which gives us a value of 0.03. Okay. Also, sometimes what they'll want you to do is to express it out of 100 if you want to. So, for example, in this equation, you could make it out of 100, okay, by multiplying the top values by 20, multiplying the bottom values by 20 as well, and then you would be left with 40 over 100. Therefore, you would know it's 0.4. You don't have to go about this method. If you just want to do, for example, 7 divided by 8 to get the value of 0.875, I would say that's probably an easier method than trying to make it equivalent to 100. And the last question is 0.85. So that's if you want to put something into a decimal. Now, if we want to put something into a decimal that is a percent, all you're going to do is you're going to take that percent and you're going to divide it by 100. So in this situation, you would take 25, divide it by 100, and you would be left with 0.25. Okay. Again, 7% divided by 100, because essentially you got to think it's 7% divided by 100%, and the percents cross out. You'll be left with 0.07. And we're just going to continue on through 0.226. And then 100% is just the value of 1. I won't often ask you to change a percent to a fraction very often, but you want to think lowest common if you do that. Now, how do we go about expressing the following as percents? So how I like to talk about it is I like to talk about it as it's almost like representing a grade. Okay, so if you think 19, so to express the following as percents, you would do 19 divided by 16 and then multiply it by 100%. Which gives us a value of 118.75%. 3/4, again, same, divide, then multiply by 100%. You get 75%. Sometimes you could be given it in a decimal form, so all you have to do is multiply the decimal by 100%. And that will give you 12.5. And again, another example, if it's in a decimal, just multiply it by 100%. And you'll get the value of 37.5. So those should be very much review. You'll need to know how to convert between percents and decimals in probability, so that's why we review it a lot. Not so much working with fractions because you'll always convert to a decimal. So let's look at some word problems here. So the regular price of a sweater is $55. What is the sale price if it's on sale for 25% off the regular price? So what you have to think is, what is the percent of that? Okay, so you always have to convert your percent to a decimal, so divide it by 100, which gives you 0.25. So if you want to, what you could do is you can think of $55, and what's 25% of that? So times it by 2.5. So when we do that, we get 55 times 0.25. We find out that 25% is $13.75. So that is the discount price off. So you're not quite done because you have to take the $55 and subtract $13.75. So the actual price of this sweater now is $41.25. So that is the actual sale price. Sometimes people forget this step, I find, okay? Because remember, that's the discount. That's what you're actually going to pay for the sweater. Let's look at a couple more examples of that. So 35% of 58, again, convert to a decimal by dividing by 100. And then of means multiplying. So we get a value of 20.3. Again, let's look at one more. So 55.5% divide by 100 gives you 0.055. Of means to multiply, so we're going to multiply it by 60. And we find that 5.5% of 60 is the number 3.3. So moving on to your next page here. This one's calculating a number when a percent of it is unknown. So this time we're asking 25% of what number is 37. So we're asking the opposite of what we did. So when we're looking at it, we're saying 25% of blank is equal to 37. So we're trying to find that unknown number. So we can put this into an equation because we know that convert again to divided by 100 to a decimal. Of means multiplication, so of x equals 37. Now this is just order of operation. So we could move 0.25 to the other side by dividing, because that would cross out. And we find out that 37 divided by 0.25 equals 148. So that makes sense because you're saying 25% of 148 is a value of 37. So if you want to write that down, we could say, therefore, 25% of 148 is 37. Okay. Example, Alan paid a total sales tax of $34.97 on a bicycle. The total sales tax is 13% of the selling price. So what is the selling price? Okay, so again, we're saying 13% of blank, okay, is equal to 34.97. So again, setting that up, convert the percent into a decimal. Of x is multiplication equals 34.97. We rearrange to solve for x. So x equals 34.97 divided by 0.13, and we find out that x equals 269. So equals 269. And don't forget your units, so we know that therefore the bike cost $269. The next question, don't worry about doing that. That's a graphing question. We might look at it as a class making our own data when we get going. So homework today is page 58, okay, numbers 1 to 10. Again, it's basic math skills, but you really need to know how to use these when you're going into this unit. And this unit's fairly short as we get going.